What is up, everybody? Welcome into this week's episode of It's Called Football on the Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel. I'm Jerry Walker, and alongside me, as always, is Jackson Fyda. Jackson, we had a very interesting past weekend of Premier League action. We will discuss a lot of that, a lot of surprise results, some of the big teams dropping points, one game getting postponed because of rain. Probably the one we were most excited for, so that's unfortunate there. We're also going to have a look at some of this upcoming weekend because as we said last week, we didn't think this past weekend was going to be anything exciting. I don't think this upcoming one will be either, but you never know. We were proven wrong clearly. But how are you doing this Wednesday afternoon before we hop into all that Premier League footy action?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm right in the middle of my finals week, so trying to power through that and get to Friday. But nice little respite here. Hour-long footy talk.
You're almost there. We got an hour of this to get through to take your mind off.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll hop right into it. Starting out with one of the bigger, I don't know, surprises, but it's kind of like a shock that we see two of them happen. Start with Fulham Arsenal, and then we'll go into Man City and Crystal Palace. The game that was postponed this weekend was Liverpool and Everton, so the league leaders weren't playing. That gives everyone a chance to kind of catch up and make up some points. I know the game will be played at a later date, but that wasn't the case. Fulham and Arsenal, starting there, 1-1. Arsenal needed to come back in this one. What were your thoughts on this one from the Arsenal side of things? Because it wasn't a great performance.
No, it really wasn't. And it's not like there wasn't offense being created on the Arsenal side of things. We had a decent amount of shots, but none of them were on target. You know? Still looked incredibly dangerous from set pieces. That's how we ultimately got the equalizer, which that play was genius to have the four guys rushing forward, have Havertz sneak in completely unnoticed, head it back across for Saliba. It was absolutely genius. But it all started, the comeback, because Ben White fell asleep with a guy running off his back shoulder and Raul Jimenez, and then he just happened to have an insanely good finish.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it just really wasn't good enough. And just because you dominate possession, you dominate the shots, doesn't mean you had a good performance. That was not a good performance because you give up the lead early, you're down 1-0, and then you can't score. And I know Saka scored and it was called offside at the end. Plenty of chances being created, but yeah, just wasn't good enough. And I remember like last week when we were talking about it, I told you I was nervous about this game.
Yeah.
I was nervous about this game. Fulham at home, very good team. They're a good team in general. So nervous heading into it, and this is why, because Fulham's a good team. They got the lead early, and then they just held back. They did what they had to do to get a point, a massive point for them. And yeah, I mean, just not good enough from an Arsenal side of things. If you want to go and challenge for the title, if you want to get back into that race, I mean, I still feel like Arsenal's in the race. Don't get me wrong. Liverpool gets all 3 points from their game in hand. You're still only 3 games back. That's definitely doable. But man, you need to pick up results like this, especially when you're dominating possession, you're dominating the chances being created. You have to take advantage of it, and you have to defend well. Just wasn't a great overall performance. It wasn't awful. It wasn't awful, but it was just not inspired.
Yeah, the stat that really stood out to me outside of the 66% possession for Arsenal was the expected goals. And I know expected goals are a very hard one to warrant, but total, it was Arsenal had just under 2 expected goals, whereas Fulham had 0.14 expected. The first half where they scored, they had 0.03. So they were given a 3% chance to get a part of a goal. They were given a 3% chance of getting a goal. Somehow they did. So it really was one that Arsenal kind of shot themselves in the foot. Fair play to Fulham, like you said. They've been on a burner recently. Not like Arsenal, who'd won 5 in a row. But they beat Brentford Brighton last time out, 3-1. Went to Tottenham the week before and drew. And then 2 weeks prior, won in Crystal Palace, which made the loss against Wolves all that much more kind of surprising. But this is a good Fulham team. They played well together in this one, and they fought more. And they fought from the beginning to the end. Arsenal didn't start fighting until they were already down 1-0. And even then, it's kind of waited a little bit for them to really get into it. 3 points for Fulham would have been nice. 1 point doesn't really change all that much. They're still right there. 2 points back in 5th place, Nottingham Forest. 4 back of Man City, 6 back of Arsenal. So very much still in the picture of European football. I know it's so weird seeing some of these other teams that are involved there, but hey, big thing at the end of the day, as it will be with the Man City when we talk about them in a second, but Arsenal dropping a point, very, very hard because they're currently 6 points back at Liverpool. Liverpool have a match in hand. 2 points back at Chelsea for second. Well, you want all 3 points like in a game. And then there was Man City taking on Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace is in the relegation battle. Man City is in the title battle. So it only makes sense that we get a 2-2 draw here. And this is another one that Man City just should have won comfortably.
Yeah, on paper they should have, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously they dominate possession like City does, but they let Palace attack. You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't just the 2 goals. Like they had 12 total shots. That was equal to Man City's. They created the same amount of shots, and City only had 1 more on target.
That is true.
Like, from a Palace perspective, they played phenomenally. 2 goals. Sure, you concede 2, but you're playing against Manchester City. You're bound to concede 2. So from a Palace perspective, with how the season has been going, where they're currently sitting in 17th place after that, this is a huge result. Now, from City's perspective, this is just more of the same that we've been seeing recently. It's actually insane to see the fall off that's happened since Rodri's gotten injured. You know?
Yeah.
It's having a serious impact. It 100% is. And Haaland even got on the score sheet in this game. You can't even blame it on that.
Yeah, but it's the tale of the season. You've said it time and time again on here. When did Crystal Palace get their first goal? 4 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're so slow starting. Then they do rely on the Haaland to get him a goal back, which fair play he always seems to do. But then you concede really quickly into the second half. Rico Lewis gets it back, and then he gets a red card later on in the game. That's just not the Man City we've seen in the past few years. Man City in the past few years, if they concede early, they then put up 3 in a row. And you don't have guys getting stupid red cards on their second yellow. You don't have players missing open chances. It was clinical, and I guess a big part of it is that midfield presence where nothing against them, but you go from having Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, De Bruyne in to Savinho has been playing more. Mateus Nunes, who, fair play, he did get the assist to Haaland, but he's playing more. It's just there seems to be that drop-off in talent, and I'm still concerned about this defense where you are still missing John Stones in the back. Akanji and Ake here and there will be helpful, but it's like Rico Lewis. He gets a goal, but he also gets a red card. If they have 11 men, I could have seen Man City winning this because they started to create more and more opportunities leading up to that Rico Lewis goal. And then it kind of just stopped after he got sent off. It's one of those weird ones. I just can't get my mind about what's wrong with Man City besides the fact that they really were that reliant on one player.
Yeah, I think that's really the main takeaway. But defensively, that's been a problem all season. They're just winning beforehand. Now it's really just coming to a head because we're noticing it more because they're losing games. They're tying games. Yeah. They're doing all this. Defensively, it has been a shit show. And, like, every combination of players they played back there, goalkeepers, center backs, outside backs, they all concede. Sometimes one person's out of form. You just sub them out, give someone else a chance, and go from there. Now, like you said, John Stones being out, could that be playing a big issue? Obviously. Akanji's been injured. Ake's been injured. You have Vardiol, who oftentimes plays as a left back, one who kind of flies pretty high, playing center back this game. I mean, so you can look at it like that. You haven't had a whole lot of continuity just because of injuries, stuff like that, which will obviously play a part. But even at the very beginning of the season, they have been leaking goals. So I think it's more just an overarching theme rather than just one problem player, one problem formation, one problem lineup. It's everybody. So I don't know how you solve this. Maybe you have to go and make a new signing, someone who comes in and can shore things up. Maybe you have to switch around formation a little bit more. Maybe you have to spend more time focusing on your defense. Maybe too much time is spent on the ball. I don't know what the solution is. I'm not involved in their training. I don't know any of that. But something needs to change. Something needs to improve because defensively they have been woeful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been bad. And I wonder if part of that is the position that Rodri played was kind of that
Mm-hmm.
an 8 role where you are going to drop back a bit more, play a bit more defensively. I mean, 6-7 role, not the 8 role, where you drop back more, and we're just not seeing that from him, from anyone else right now. Gundogan isn't really doing it. Bernardo Silva was always more of an attacking than a dropping back.
Mm.
It's just they're missing someone there, and I wonder if that has an effect on the defense as well. As you're not holding the ball in the midfield as much. Sure, you still dominated possession, like 68% or something, but you're not keeping it away. And once you do give it up, and it's quickly they're going the other way, and that can be dangerous. And that's what I think is part of the issue with Man City is they are making those lapses. This is the first time Kyle Walker's kind of looked a little old and not as quick was this season. And I wonder if it has to do with the Euros and how much he played over the summer, all last year, yada yada, all that stuff. But I know something needs to change. I just don't think it will until the January transfer window comes around.
Yeah.
No. Moving on to another team in Manchester that had a great match at home. They've really been flying under their new manager, Ruben Amorim, but Man United taking on Premier League powerhouse this year, Nottingham Forest. Were you surprised that Forest won 3-2?
I'm not that surprised just based on how the season's going. I've had hope that Amorim would be able to come in and have an immediate impact. I really did. It's not his fault. He's inheriting this situation. It's going to take time. It's going to take the transfer window this January. It's going to take the transfer window this upcoming summer. But man, this team is pathetic.
Yeah.
You give up a goal from a center back 2 minutes in. You get it back, and then you just go and concede more goals like that. You obviously get one back, make the game a little bit more interesting, but they didn't look good. And for the amount of possession they had, the control, if you will, of the game that they had, this was just terrible from them.
Yeah.
At home, too.
It was pretty embarrassing, and it's now the fifth time that we've seen Amorim managing menu, and he has 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. The draw came against Ipswich. No. Their wins came against a poor Everton team, and then Bodø Glimt in the Europa League. That's a Norwegian team who currently sits let me see, I just had it. Fair play, they are top of the table. They are likely going to win the league, but still. You shouldn't be losing those kind of games at home. That's what the concern is. You have 2 wins at home. One of them you needed a late winner in Europa, but you also then come and lose a game like this against Nottingham Forest, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time Nottingham Forest has ever won at Old Trafford in the Premier League. First win at Old Trafford since '94.
Okay.
So, well, that being said, probably haven't played very much. Forest hasn't played in the Premier League very much, but still, that makes it even more easy.
30 years.
Going to the Forest side, are they legit? They're in the fifth in the Premier League at the moment. They are 2 points back of City, 4 of Arsenal, 6 of Chelsea. So they're still very much in it. We've now seen them. Sure, they got battered by Man City last week, but they came back and killed Man U at the weekend. Lost to Arsenal, but we did see them beat Liverpool. We've seen them compete with other big teams. Some draw Brighton, some draw Chelsea. Both of those came on the road. This has been a weird team that obviously they're overachieving, but do you think this is sustainable, and are you surprised that they're doing as well?
I don't think it's sustainable to the degree that they've continue the success that they've had so far. But I think they've definitely shown they're a better team than we all gave them credit for. They got a dude who can bang in goals this season, Chris Wood. Morgan Gibbs-White has found his form. They've got good attackers. They really do. So I don't think they'll keep this up. I don't think they'll end up ultimately getting a European place. But between 8th to 12th, I could see them finishing there with how they're playing, how everyone else is playing. I wouldn't be shocked at all on that. I don't think they'll end up in a European place. I think you'll see that kind of fall off over time just because I feel like the more talented teams will eventually kind of figure things out. I think you'll see teams that are currently behind them, like Aston Villa, ultimately pass them. I think Brighton will ultimately pass them. I wouldn't be surprised to see Newcastle, Tottenham, teams like that ultimately end up passing them. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they keep doing what they're doing because they've been doing it. I just don't think you'll see them finish in a European place. I think 8th to 12th, wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, I just feel like, and who knows? Maybe they could go on a crazy spending spree like they did last January and go and sign a bunch of players who really are helping now. But that's where I think you brought up the Newcastles, the Man U's, the Tottenhams, the Fulhams. Those teams have far more money to spend on players than teams like Forest. And I'm convinced Man U's going to go out and spend a bunch in January. Newcastle will likely as well for as long as they have the Arab money. That means it's like the teams like Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, Forest. I think Villa can spend some money and has a good enough team and management style to keep them around up there. But those other 4 teams, like this is where the gap is, and this is why we've seen such a big gap in recent times between the top 2 or 3, everybody else. It is that money wise, and we could see that again. I hope not, because I would love to see Forest make a run, especially considering they have something that some teams in the Premier League, some great teams don't have.
Yeah.
2 European championships. So fair play to Forest. They have stuff in Europe in the past. It'd be cool to see them again. But I'm with you. It just doesn't seem sustainable. And at some point, they're going to fall off. But hey, if you play Man U every week, you'll be fine.
There you go.
But that would be very difficult. We've won a couple other games. Were there any ones you wanted to go in depth on? Otherwise, I'm just going to run through a couple.
I think we got the ones we needed to.
Yeah. So as far as other matches go, Brentford continue to be unbeaten at home. They beat Newcastle 4-2. That was one that we were both kind of on the fence last week about. Which we're going to go. And it was Isak getting another goal for Newcastle. And I thought that's what we both thought was going to be the difference. But Mbeumo continues to be on fire. Continues to be on fire. Those two both have 9 goals on the season now. So it's just a team that cannot be stopped at home. Gives me vibes of Aston Villa the last couple of years. Suck on the road, but you do enough at home to get you to promised land. Otherwise, Bournemouth took on Ipswich. It was an 87th minute equalizer from Bournemouth, followed up by a Dango Ouattara 95th minute winner to steal 3 points from Ipswich, which Bournemouth is hey, we have 24 points. We're a point back of European spot. That's awesome. Ipswich was we were getting 3 points here. If we get 3 points, we now have 12. Still a point back of Palace, 2 points of Leicester and Everton. But you're kind of making a gap between yourself and the bottom 2 teams. Wasn't to be just brutal. And I mean, same thing happened for Leicester. Leicester was on the fortunate side of it. They were down 2-0 after the 79th minute after Matea scored for Brighton. Jamie Vardy gets one back in the 86th, and then Joe DeCorva-Reid gets the equalizer in the 91st. So that's another one. Like, if that doesn't happen, that Ipswich doesn't collapse, then we have Ipswich is safe. Leicester's in the relegation battle or in the relegation zone. Them are Palace, and the whole thing's kind of gets flipped on its head. Otherwise, I mean, the only other one that would be worth talking about even briefly, it was really just a story of 2 halves, was Tottenham and Chelsea. Tottenham go up 2-0 after 11 minutes. Jadon Sancho of everybody is the one who gets the first goal back for Chelsea. Then after that, it was just all Chelsea, especially in the second half. Put up 3 goals. 2 of them were penalties. And then Heung-min Son got a 96th minute goal to just get one back for Tottenham. But this one was pretty dominant for Chelsea, I would say, at least in the second half.
Yeah, I'm not shocked with the amount of goals they put up because they've been doing this week in, week out. They just score. Defensively, they've actually been pretty good, too. I know they gave up 3 this game. I think it's just one of those games, though. It was just always going to happen with both teams kind of flying, Tottenham coming out of the gates, roaring at home. But Chelsea can score. They can score, and they get it from multiple different people. First of all, you have a penalty. Palmer scoring. Hey, man.
arguably the best penalty taker in Premier League history.
Oh,
Only
yeah, 100%.
without, I mean, what? He's the longest career start of without missing a penalty. So
Yeah.
look
And
at
then
that.
getting goals from Sancho, Fernandez,
Yeah,
getting them from everywhere. We
Yep.
talked about that, and that's ultimately what got it done because you give up 3, but you score 4, you'll get 3 points.
It's like the old Leeds style of under Marcelo Bielsa. You kind of all you can do is hope to score more than the other person because you know what's going to happen. It's like the Wolves motto this year. Just one side we have Chelsea who somehow gets the extra, and we have Wolves who falls by the wayside. All right. Any other final thoughts on this past weekend?
It's a shame we missed out on the Merseyside, but
It really is.
We'll get it at some point.
Hope so. We've seen crazier stuff. But
yeah.
Moving on to this week's action. The match of the week was pretty straightforward. And I think it's going to be a straightforward one to talk about as well. But it's one that we have to discuss. It's probably the biggest, most entertaining fixture of the weekend. Manchester Derby. Man City at home. Man United on their way over. Man U, as we said, lost 2 straight. Man City's won 1 of their last 8. Who do you give the advantage to? Is Manchester still blue?
Yes, I think it is. And both these teams go into this struggling. City is struggling. Man U is struggling. I think the difference is Man U is struggling more. They've been struggling more. I mean, City's going through a rough patch, but they're still more talented. They're going to be at home. They have a proven, experienced manager. Amorim just got there. He's still working out the kinks, it looks like. Advantage has to go to City, in my opinion. I still think they'll concede because they haven't demonstrated an ability to not concede yet. So I do think they'll concede, but I think they'll score 3. I'll give them a 3-1 win. I think this is going to be a big one for them that gets them going again because they need it. They need it bad. That's the thing. And I think they'll get it here. I think they're playing a very vulnerable Manchester United team. And this is the perfect opportunity to kind of turn your season back in the right way. It's been rough going, but I think they'll get it done here. I think the home advantage is really going to play a key part in this. So, yeah, I'm going 3-1 City.
I'm going to start off by saying I do agree with you that Man U does score. My concern, we talked about it when we were talking about Man City and Palace this weekend, is defensively they continue to have lapses and give up goals. Now you're down another defender in Rico Lewis. Don't get me wrong, like the attack of Man U isn't anything crazy, but losing yet another starting defender is going to be an issue. And I'm not entirely convinced I know who's going to step in his place. Like, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that and who they come out with, if they even stick with a back 4, or if you just back 3, throw another guy in the midfield or a second attacker. Whereas Man U might be able to get something done out of this. I don't think they will. I still think Man City is the better team. I think Erling Haaland is the best player on the field. I think they will win. I think they will win 2-0. But it's one that I do have concerns, especially with Rico getting a red card. Like, their injury suspension list currently reads Oscar Bob out for the season. Rodri, we know, out for the season. Then Stones and Kanje Ake, all injuries, Knox, and Rico Lewis. That's 4 defensemen, a center defensive mid, and a forward. That's not great. Whereas Man U is missing Luke Shaw and then the mighty Johnny Evans and Victor Lindelof, who you're really not missing.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see who they start defensively because it's been a shit show back there for Man U in recent weeks. And as far as the defensive scheme goes, seen Harry Maguire come in and make massive mistakes. We've seen, this weekend was another example where you have Martinez, Mateus de Ligt, and Euro. None of them seem to be on the same page yet. And I know it is changing week in, week out of who they're starting. Maybe some consistency at last because, the match before when they lost to Arsenal, it was Mateus de Ligt was the only one who still started this past week. Otherwise, it was Mazzori and Harry Maguire. They need some consistency back there, and I think that's ultimately going to be their downfall.
Yeah.
Moving on to a bottom of the table one that has some intrigue to it. Wolves and Ipswich. As we said, Wolves, 9 points. Ipswich, 9 points. 2-goal difference is in Ipswich's favor. Do you see any team getting all 3 points here?
See, this one's tough.
No.
I don't know. I generally don't know. This one's a toss-up to me. Because of that, I'm going to give it a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
Because I genuinely don't know which way to go. Both these teams have had rough goes, tied on 9 points. It is looking like you're starting to see a little bit of possible separation from those two in Southampton, where those two could still try to get into a position where they don't get relegated. I think Southampton's going to be locked in. I don't see them moving up. I could still see a world where Wolves or Ipswich figures it out due to the overall weakness of Crystal Palace in front of them, and then Leicester in front, and some of the other teams. Like, there's still opportunity to be had. And that's why this is such a big game. And it could be a big game come end of the season time. But yeah, I just really don't know which way to go. You know, I genuinely don't know which way to go with this game. Basically, I mean, these teams just feel very similar right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they are. The big difference for me is one side you have a Wolves team who they might give up 3 goals, but they'll score 2, where they've allowed so many goals over recent times, but they're averaging like 1.8 goals a game. And then you have Ipswich, who isn't even averaging a goal a game. They have 14 goals in 15 matches. They're still conceding as well. That just doesn't sound like a good recipe, if you ask me. Not a recipe to win. So I'm going to take Wolves. I'm going to take it to be 1-0 just because I feel like somehow, some way they're due a clean sheet. But I could also see it being a 2-1 result just because they continue to concede. But I just think at home at the Monument, it's a little going to be too much for the newly promoted side. Moving on to – we'll kind of get into some top-of-the-table title race contending stuff. Do a quick bounce around some of these ones or not even a quick one. We'll take our time on it. Starting with Liverpool and Fulham. Liverpool obviously had this past weekend off. They've still been the best team in the Premier League. Had one recent slip-up, which was a shocking 3-3 draw to Newcastle, and that was the match of the season, in my opinion. So hard to take anything away. They had a good win in the Champions League yesterday, 1-0 against Girona. Could have been more. Pretty impressive performance, but wasn't to be. What are you expecting from this match?
I think Liverpool keeps doing what they've been doing all season. I mean, Fulham, we talked about it. They're a good team. They're 100% a good team, sitting in 10th place. I think only 1 loss in their last 5, couple wins, couple draws. So they're getting pretty good results against pretty good teams. But yeah, at Anfield against the best team arguably in the world right now based on performance, I think they are.
Agreed.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. Liverpool's too strong right now. I do think eventually you're going to see Liverpool slip up a little bit. Drop a few games here, drop a few games there. But until we actually see that start happening, you can't really pick against them. You know, like, you got to go Liverpool. I'm feeling Liverpool. I'm feeling 2-0. I don't think Fulham's completely outclassed. I think they have chances. I think they do some decent things. Iwobi's been very good. I could see that continuing. Jimenez is a dangerous striker. I could see him causing them some fits. But yeah, Liverpool's too strong, man. They're going to score 2 goals. They're going to win 2-0, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely think Liverpool is the much, much better team. But I don't want to take anything away from Fulham. You just saw them draw with Arsenal. You saw them beat Brighton. Saw them draw with Tottenham. Here's the difference. Those last 2, the win and the draw against Arsenal, were at home.
Exactly.
You're not playing at Craven Cottage. You're playing at Anfield, somewhere where Liverpool's last 2 matches there both went 2-0 against Man City and then Real Madrid. So, something about them at home. They are one of the best teams at home in the Premier League this season. They're second only behind Brentford, who has been outstanding. Brentford 7-1 and no losses. 7 wins, 1 draw, no losses at home. Liverpool are 6 wins, no draws, 1 loss at home. So give me Liverpool. There's a reason Mo Salah is tied for the Golden Boot. There's a reason he's second in the assist race. This team has been so good. I just want to see someone else step up. Luis Diaz started out the season really strong. He's kind of fallen down a bit as of late. Other guys haven't been stepping up. Like, it was a Mo Salah penalty that they needed this yesterday to get by in the Champions League by Girona. Not that Girona's not a bad team. No, I'm not saying that, but they needed Salah to score. The game before against Newcastle, Curtis Jones hit a goal. You need Salah to score 2 late on in the second half when you were down 2-1 to get all 3 or to get a point. When it hasn't been Salah, it hasn't been consistently good enough. It's been random guys here and there stepping up. Gakpo had a couple goals. McAllister's done stuff here and there. Where's Darwin Nunez?
He's lost, bro.
Luis Diaz, because at least in Diaz's sake, he started the season looking much better, but he's done nothing as of late. He has not scored in a Premier League game since September 21st was the last time he scored in the Premier League. He had 2 goals in a 3-0 win against Bournemouth. 1 goal for Colombia, 1 assist for Liverpool in the league, then a goal against Brighton in the EFL Cup and a hat-trick against Leverkusen in the Champions League. Besides that, he's done virtually nothing except get a yellow card. Something needs to change because it's so much easier said than done. It's like Man City. Stop Haaland. If you can stop Salah, you're going to find a way to win. I just don't trust this Fulham back line to get it done. They do have Robinson, but
Robinson's been good. Don't get me wrong. He's been very good. And if anyone's got a shot at locking him down, he's one of the guys you take just based on performance this season, last season. But, man, Mo Salah's just been different level form. You're right. And you bring up an interesting point. It's not just about shutting him down. What happens if he gets hurt? He's getting up there in age. What happens if he gets hurt?
Yeah.
If he's out for 2 months? Who steps up then? That is an excellent point. Again, he's healthy. He's balling out. He's getting them a lot of points right now. So I don't think there's any reason to doubt that. But like you said, if he gets shut down or God forbid he gets injured, who's going to be that next person to step up and make sure that things keep running the way they are? Defensively, they're fine. Defensively, they're fine.
Yeah.
It's who steps up in the attack.
Yeah, I mean, it's a congested fixture list as well at this point in the year because any little knock, or say there's a game where he does get a knock, he's not out long term, but suddenly you're missing a Man U match or Tottenham or right after the Christmas break. They have the Man U, Nottingham Forest, Brentford, all these teams that can compete because it's a lot. You play more or less 4 matches in about a 10-day stretch, 11-day stretch for some teams. So it's very congested. And if he does get hurt, I think Liverpool would be in trouble. Moving on to another top team, actually second in the table, Chelsea. They've looked pretty solid so far this year. They take on Brentford, who is coming off that big win at the weekend. Chelsea have been on a roll. What are you expecting from this one?
I'd expect them to continue. They're just scoring goals, right? I know Brentford can score, but Chelsea can score too, and they're at home. So I'm going to give them the edge here. They've been in really good attacking form. I think that continues here. Again, this is what I like about Chelsea. They get goals from all over the place. It's not just one guy. Like, obviously, Cole Palmer's the best player. He's the one scoring the most. But there are other guys scoring too. And a lot of guys are scoring in the run of play. Palmer's getting a lot of his goals for penalties, like he did 2 of them last week. A lot of guys are scoring through the run of play as well. It's a nice little mixture of the two. You get the penalty goals, free kick goals, whatever. You also get the run of play goals. They're getting a lot of those, which is good. So I got to back Chelsea. Offensively, they've looked so good. I just think they'll outscore Brentford.
I agree. And I mean, looking at their last 5 matches, Chelsea have been averaging a little over 3. They've been averaging 3.2 goals a game, only conceding 1 goal a game. Where Brentford, they're still scoring 2.4 a match over the last 5, conceding 1.5 over the last 5. They're being, as far as head-to-head go, they're being outshot by Chelsea and over that time period, out-controlled, out-fouled, I guess, as well.
Mm.
Chelsea does have more cards. But also, we've talked about how good Brentford is at home. They're not at home. They are the second worst team in the league away from home, yet to have a win. They have 1 point from 7 matches. I don't see them getting a point here. I think Chelsea will get it done. I'm going to go 3-1. I think Chelsea puts up goals galore once again.
Yeah, I was going 3-2. So more or less same ballpark.
Yeah, exactly. Now this is where it gets interesting. We've talked about 3 of the top 4. We can briefly touch on Arsenal while we're at it because they're playing Everton, a team that we talked about last week. You expecting much from this one?
It should be a confident win. That's one I don't really have any concerns about from an Arsenal perspective. At home, after a disappointing result, obviously playing Champions League right now, so we'll see how that result goes, how things are looking heading into the game. But yeah, I think Arsenal will take this one at home. I don't really have any concerns. Give me 2-0. I think it's a good scoreline.
Okay, I like that. I mean, yeah, Arsenal's looking good currently in the Champions League. 36th minute, up 1-0. Bukayo Saka got the goal against Monaco, so I'm going to put that out there. Man City is the other English team playing in the Champions League this afternoon. 0-0 away to Juventus. But fair play to Premier League teams at the moment. Doing enough to get by.
Mm-hmm.
Back to this, though, Arsenal just seems – it's Everton. Everton is one of my – last time we went through the relegation battle, Everton was one of the teams I'm picking to go down. I don't trust them one bit. I still think they were very lucky to, 1, avoid Liverpool, and 2, to batter Wolves as badly as they did.
Mm.
It's a little bit of a confidence boost, but they're by no means a good team. They only wins Palace, Ipswich, Wolves. They're doing what they do every year where they just beat the bad teams. The teams around them just do enough to get by. So I don't think that Arsenal's in their zone as far as they're not in the relegation area. So Everton is going to get battered. I'm going Arsenal 3-0.
Nice.
But as we've proven, Arsenal can mess up in some.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's unreal.
But moving on to the last one that we're going to go into a little bit of depth on, because this is an important match as well. 5 and 6, Nottingham Forest taking on Aston Villa at Forest. Both teams have 25 points apiece. There's 1 goal difference between the two of them. Forest has the advantage, so they are 5th, Villa 6th. What do you expect? This is the one I don't know. This one I can see going so many different ways. Villa have won 3 straight. Forest have won 2 of their last 3, but also 2 of their last 5. They're nothing too crazy. They get a big win last match out, but then they play the teams who are ahead of them. In Arsenal, you lose 3-0. Newcastle, who's been behind you, but on paper is a better known team, you lose 3-1. Play Man U, you lose 3-0. Whereas Aston Villa is finding ways to beat teams and anywhere in the table.
Mm.
So what do you expect from this one? Because I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking this too. I feel like this could go either way. 100%. Yeah. I think on paper, Aston Villa is a more talented team. But performance-wise, I think Forest deserves a little bit of respect. Based on the results that they've been getting, both home and away. I think they deserve that respect. And I do think you'll see them fall off eventually. I do think at the end of the season, you will see Aston Villa ahead of them. But I'm picking Forest in this game. At Forest, with the form that they're in, Chris Wood has been unbelievable this season. I got to back them. They deserve that respect. They deserve they deserve to be looked at as a very good team because that's what they're showing to be right now, a very good team. Again, I think we'll see a regression, but I got to back them in this. They've earned that respect with the results that they've gotten. So I'm gonna give them a 2-1 win.
Okay.
I think it's a very good game. Wouldn't be shocked at all if Villa goes in there and wins by multiple goals. I could see it going that way too. But I think I got to give them that respect based on how they've been performing and say they'll win. So I'm going 2-1.
I'm going 2-1 as well, but I'm going towards Aston Villa. I think the road team gets it done. They have 10 points in 7 road matches, whereas at home, Forest have 11 points in 7 home matches. They're both in very, very where are you going? And I think Aston Villa needs a win here because of who they have upcoming. After this weekend, they have Man City at home, away to Newcastle, which I don't care where Newcastle is in the table. That team is a lot better than they actually show, and they're looking better at the moment. So I still think that one's hard going up to Newcastle. Then you're home to Brighton. Then you're going into January, which is a little bit of a break. You get 2 break matches before you play at Arsenal. So I think this is a big one for them to have any hope moving forward. Whereas Forest upcoming has Brentford, Tottenham, Everton, Wolves. Those are all very winnable before you get like a Liverpool, Southampton's, kind of those matches. But I think they'll have a little bit of a lapse in this one, coming off the high of beating Man U in the way they did. And their last 4 have been alternating. Loss, win, loss, win. Only makes sense for this one to be a loss. I'm trusting Ollie Watkins. Love Chris Wood. I think he's done a great job. But Watkins, John McGinn, Matty Cash, and company, they seem to be, in my view, the hotter team. 1-3 straight. Looking really good. I have them getting it done. Somehow, some way. I think it'll be ugly, but a win will be a win. I think we'll see a red card in this as well.
I would, yeah. I could see that.
But any other matches you want to kind of touch on, or anything of the games we've just talked about before we hop into our final predictions for the other 5 matches? Because we did cover quite a bit today.
Yeah, I say we hop into the predictions. I think we've done our due diligence. Time to do the fun stuff here.
Yeah, I guess at this point we only have 4 matches left. We did touch on 6 because, as we said, it doesn't seem like the most interesting. Then you start diving into these matches, and they're like, okay, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
The first one we didn't talk about is Newcastle and Leicester. I'll let you kick this one off. What do you think happens when they go up to the north?
Yeah, I got to give it to Newcastle. Like you said, they're a much better team than they've been showing, and we've talked about that. It's been a pretty disappointing start to the season in terms of where you are in points. But this team is so good when they get everything going. When Isak is scoring, when you've got the defense working, when you've got multiple guys in attack looking dangerous, such as Anthony Gordon. They're a very good team. And they're a better team than Leicester. And they're at home. It's hard to play up in Newcastle. I'm going to give it to Newcastle. I'm going to go, give me 3-1. I could see Leicester getting a goal. But I do think they win by 2 goals. So I'm going to go 3-1. I think Newcastle is moving in the right direction. Even though they lost that game to Brentford. Brentford, like you said, they've been unbelievable at home.
Yeah.
You've got 2 dudes who have been unbelievable in terms of the amount of goals that they've scored in Buemo and Lisa. So, sure, it sucks, but it's not really the end of the world. I think they'll continue their upward trajectory with a win here.
See, one thing is, now the more I'm looking into it, I am taking Newcastle. I'm just putting that ahead, but they have not won any of their last 4. 2 losses, 2 draws. In one of the draws, you gave up a 94th minute goal. You didn't even score that game. The only goal you had for your team was an own goal. You lose at home, or you draw at home again with Liverpool. You needed a late goal to even get a point. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a late goal here. I do just think it's not that Newcastle's been on a roll by any means the last couple weeks, or last 2 weeks, I guess. Because there was a point where they were looking like they were back. I really kind of put that out that they suddenly just fell for 4 in a row, but Leicester's been worse. Leicester's lost 3 of their last 4, or last 5. 1 win. Win came against West Ham. Kind of surprising. Give me Newcastle. Give me 1-0 because they're not scoring a lot recently. They're not conceding a lot recently. Leicester doesn't score very often. So I'm going 1-0. I have a feeling this could be a stinker of a game. Next one down the line, Brighton and Crystal Palace. Brighton sitting 7th in the table. Crystal Palace 17th. 10 spot difference, 11-point difference. Do we see an upset?
I'm thinking no. I'm still betting against Palace in just about every game they play. City result was a great result for them. They actually played pretty well. I'm going Brighton now. Give me 2-0 Brighton.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to keep this one nice and simple. I'm doing 2-0 Brighton as well. I think they're far too good. Crystal Palace has been far too sloppy and lackadaisical as of late. And Brighton needs to get back into winning ways if they want to keep it up at the top half of the table. Final game on Sunday, Southampton hosting Tottenham. We've had something on this show all season. If you're playing Southampton, we're picking against Southampton. Do you continue that for your least favorite team in the Premier League, Tottenham?
Tottenham's going to win. Tottenham needs this because they, in their last 3 games, have lost 2 and tied 1. So they need this to get back into the right side of the form standings. So I think they'll do it. I will always bet against Southampton right now as well. I think they're by far the most inferior team in the league in terms of talent, in terms of performance, all that stuff. And it's showing because they only have 5 points so far and are sitting dead last in the table. So, yeah, I'm going to go Tottenham. I think they win pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I think
I'll go 3-0, honestly.
Really? Okay. I could very well see Tottenham comfortably. They only have 1 win in their last 7. Southampton has no wins in their last 5, 1 win in their last 6, 2 in their last 12. So give me Tottenham. I think Son will get something done. He did score last time out, I believe, against Chelsea. He had the late goals. Lanky's kind of been getting better, getting more consistent. It's just Southampton so bad. Look at the stats this season. Have a guess at how many goals Southampton is averaging this year per game.
Per game, they've got 11 goals in 15 games.
So 0.7.
Yeah.
They're not even averaging a goal a game. Give me Tottenham. Give me a shutout. Give me 2-0. They're so bad, Southampton.
They're so bad.
This one, more intriguing than I think it should be. But Bournemouth, West Ham, I think on the field is going to be much better than looking at like the lineups and all that. I think we're having a thriller. I think this is going to be like a 2-all. I don't even know why I'm thinking 2-all because neither scores that often, but give me 2-all. I think it's going to be a feisty one, and I think West Ham scores late once again.
See, I'm going 2-1 Bournemouth. I like what I'm seeing from this team, and the main thing I like is their fight. They've won multiple games coming back and scoring late goals at the very end, just like they did last week. So they've got that spirit in them, and I think that's ultimately going to get them over the line here. West Ham, been very disappointed with what I've seen from them this season. Obviously, they did get the win last week, but just overall, they just haven't looked like the team that I thought they were going to look like with all the players that they brought in. And Bournemouth has continued to look good, put in very good performances. So I'm going to give it to Bournemouth here 2-1. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a good game. But I like Bournemouth a little bit more, especially at home. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. Give them a 2-1 win. I like their spirit 100%. So I think if times get rough, they'll find a way to get at least a point. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them get all 3 as well. Not just in this game, but in the future as well. Like, I really like that aspect of their game and how they play. So, yeah, I'm going 2-1 Bournemouth in this. I'm going to go late goal as well, but I'm going to give it to Bournemouth because it's happened multiple times. And you gave a late goal. Now that you're saying it, it just feels right in this game. So I'm going to go late goal, but give it to Bournemouth as well.
Fair enough. We shall see what happens. I got a 2-all draw and a 2-1 win. So I kind of just forget that Bournemouth has actually been solid this year. They beat Man City, beat Arsenal, beat Tottenham, and they have a very, very favorable next 5 matches. After the West Ham one, you're at Man U, where anything is possible at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Home to Palace, at Fulham, home to Everton. Very winnable games for a team that's only 1 point out of 5th place. So maybe up the cherries this season.
Mm-hmm.
But Jackson, that kind of wraps up our Premier League football talk. Is there anything else you want to touch on in the world of football before we go out with a bang today?
I think we're good. Saudi Arabia got the World Cup, which I'm still have
And it's meant to be in the winter
again, which that's my biggest issue with it.
Our World Cup caused major issues.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue with it because it affects league schedules. Players are going to play an insane amount of games over a 2 to 3 year period. I don't get it. If you can't host it during the time that's supposed to be hosted, then you don't host it there. Like I wouldn't try to change the Winter Olympics around to try to make it work in a place
where there's no snow.
I mean, they've done that with Beijing, but I don't know, man. I hate it. I hate that it's going to be there because of that aspect. Obviously, there's the human rights violations, the sports washing elements of it all. I get that, but I'm not going to comment on that a whole lot because there's a lot that goes into situations like that, cultural differences, all that. But just the scheduling, just think about it from a pure soccer perspective. I don't get it. It's insane to me.
You're telling me. I mean, we have that one in 34 as far as the calendar, or 36. As far as the calendar goes, it's messed up. I will say, and it's going to be very different because Qatar was such a small, compact country compared to Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a damn good job putting on the World Cup. We know we have all the human stuff and all the political stuff, but we're not talking about that. As far as just civic football went, I went out there. It was awesome. Everything was well organized, well run. Wasn't even that hot. So I understood it. They did a good job. It's just the effect that we're still fighting over from what happened.
And we're still dealing with it. Schedules are still kind of trying to get back to normal, what they were before that. Because, you had to put all those games, you had to push off the end of the season. Then at the start of the next season, all this stuff kind of happened. And you're still seeing the fallout of that. Players getting less time off. And overall, man, players are playing an insane amount of games, which is great for the viewer, right? It's great for the fan.
Yeah.
But for the players, you can't just say go out there and do your job. It does take a toll on you playing a lot of games. I don't think people understand how much these players actually run around when they're out there.
Averaging miles on miles.
Yeah, it puts a strain on your body. And it's not just a consistent pace. You're going stop, start, stop, start, stop, start all the time. And you get muscle injuries, you get general fatigue, you get contact injuries, all this, and you get added up, and you will miss more games. You'll have less time to recover as well. All of this, man, it's so disappointing because we're letting money talk. And again, it's great for fans right now. It's the best time to be a fan, especially in the U.S., because previously you didn't really have access to all this, and now you have access to everything, and there are more games coming at you left and right. But yeah, from a player perspective, I just think this is insane. And putting a World Cup back in the winter, I think it was a cool one-off. I think that we're going to do it twice.
Twice in 5 or 4 World Cups?
Yeah.
I'm also concerned about the 2031 while we're talking about
that one just makes absolutely
that one's just stupid to me.
We're
going to have 3 teams hosting games in South America. You're going to have, and I get the whole century anniversary, 100th
Then
anniversary.
Why not host it there?
Exactly. Why not do the whole tournament down there? Instead of having games played just in Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, we have 3 or 4 games being played down there.
And then all the Morocco, Spain.
Exactly. Morocco, Spain, and Portugal. That is just stupid, in my opinion. I think it's really, really dumb. I don't know what to expect. I will still watch every single game I possibly can, but it's I just don't get it. You're having games halfway around the world, and it's getting more and more out of hand as it comes and goes. So we'll see. It'll be interesting, to say the least, the next couple World Cups. I think next year, the 26th World Cup will be fine without a hitch.
Yeah.
We do have the Club World Cup draw all set. We know where everyone's going to play the games. Try and get to a couple of those in Nashville. Got the almighty Al Hilal coming to Nashville. So go see ex-Neymar team.
There you go.
But, Jackson, any final thoughts on anything before we wrap this one up?
I think we're good.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our It's Called Football episodes on the Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel or anything else that our colleagues do. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.